There's a bit of a debate going on regarding which episode goes next in the lineup. The wiki has put the episode Gemcation next out of these 6 episodes, and I actually agree that that flows a little bit better. But the official app put Raising the Barn next, and as you can tell from the title of this episode, I did decide to go with that official lineup. It doesn't really hurt the narrative for the 2 episodes to be swapped anyway. That said, I mentioned in my review of Dewey Wins that I liked the episode. I didn't think it was great or anything, but I thought it was a perfectly enjoyable episode that did a good job of kicking off a new arc. I was particularly excited by the subtlety of the writing, and that it seemed to be marking a change for the show, a turning point for the narrative. Something which I feel that the show really needs. There's a reason why people don't like the Beach City episodes that much, and that's because they've started to get stale. Nothing really changes. These 6 episodes, the arc that began with these 6 episodes, sets in motion some upsets of the Beach City status quo. I like this episode for, I guess you would say, a lot of the same reasons, though my enjoyment of this episode is, I guess you'd say, a lot more sadistic than my enjoyment of Dewey Wins. It's no secret at this point that I have issues with the pacing of the show. There were pacing issues in Dewey Wins. I just didn't see the point of talking about them because I've talked about my issues with the pacing so much already. But one of my biggest issues with the pacing of the show is with the pacing of the development of Lapis and Peridot as characters. They sequestered the 2 of them away at the barn, separated them from the rest of the cast, and while we did get some interesting glimpses of the 2 of them together, their relationship never really did anything to further their development. Peridot seemed almost like a completely different person around Lapis, a lot like how she seems like a different person around Steven and Amethyst, and how Lapis seems like a different person around Steven. To the credit of the crew, they have used Lapis's unique, very open relationship with Steven to examine facets of her character that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to examine. But they never really use that more open version of Peridot when she is around Lapis to examine anything new about her character. It was a lost opportunity. And while I did manage to piece together what I think is a pretty decent analysis of where I think they were trying to go with Lapis's characterization, her characterization has also been pretty lackluster. She just hasn't been in the show enough to really grow into a different person than she was when she started. I've been calling for a sort of soft reset of Lapis's characterization for a long time. And this episode, Raising the Barn, gives us that soft reset while also putting Peridot into a place where she is more likely to connect with the other characters and grow as a result of that connection. Steven gets a video call from Lapis and Peridot wanting to know how he is since he got back to Earth. Apparently they knew that he was on Homeworld, but the others didn't call them in to help try to get him back for some reason, which is just, it's stupid, and I'm not going to dwell on it too much, because if I do, this will turn into a rant and it'll be way too long. Just understand that I think it is idiotic that the other characters would not think to bring in a character who can build spaceships and a character who can fly through space under their own power to try to help them get Steven back. And I don't think that the other Crystal Gem characters are stupid enough not to see that. But moving on, Steven tells them what happened on Homeworld, that he ran away from the diamonds, that he escaped the diamonds. And immediately Lapis starts freaking out. She's now convinced that the diamonds are going to return to Earth and start another war. She wants her and Peridot to leave the planet. And, to paraphrase, the rest of the episode was about Steven and Peridot, but primarily Peridot, because at this point, she just knows Lapis a lot better. Trying to convince Lapis to stay. Trying to remind her of all of the good things that they have in their life together. Hoping that that will inspire her to stay on Earth, and maybe even fight for the planet. But Lapis is still so traumatized by what happened during the First War. And I don't blame her. She was kidnapped by her own people, and imprisoned, unable to even move, for thousands of years while she was interrogated to try to learn things that she didn't even know the answer to. That sounds horrifying. And so it makes sense that she is still so traumatized that she refuses to get involved in another war. She refuses to even allow the possibility to happen. So she uses her powers to actually lift the barn out of the ground and take her new life with her into space. Which is absolutely devastating to Peridot, not just because someone who she was so close to has left her, not just because this person took their entire shared life with her when she left, but because Peridot at the end opened up to Lapis and pleaded with her to stay and fight for the life that they had together. And Lapis effectively blew her off. I understand why Lapis feels the way that she did, but just like how understanding why Steven made the decision to turn himself over to Homeworld doesn't invalidate Connie's feelings about him doing so, understanding where Lapis is coming from here doesn't invalidate Peridot's feelings. Like Connie, Peridot feels abandoned and betrayed. Now Lapis is off in space, just like she was before the return, and Peridot is back living in Steven's bathroom, just like she was before she moved to the barn in the first place. Both of these characters have been reset to an earlier point in their characterization, at least geographically speaking. This setup will give the writers an opportunity to step back, take a second look at the characterization of these two characters, and then move forward with it again. And I am so psyched about that. This episode also begins to create a parallel between Steven and Connie's relationship and Peridot and Lapis' relationship. I will flat out admit that I never saw a problem with romantic Lapidot, but that I also never saw it as romantic myself. Now I'm starting to think maybe I was wrong. But whereas these 6 episodes make it clear that Steven and Connie's relationship is going to continue, spoiler alert, I really don't think that Peridot and Lapis will ever again be as close as they were. Lapis' behavior toward Peridot here, justifiable or not, gave that last remaining little bit of Peridot's naivete a swift kick in the ass out the door. Peridot tried to be this emotionally open and honest with someone, all the way back in Earthlings when she tried to appeal to Jasper, but that was someone who wasn't her friend. Here, she tried to be open and raw and honest with her best friend, and it still didn't work. Some of that bright-eyed optimism that she developed following Steven's example, it's gone now, and I don't think it's ever going to come back. At least not entirely. Just like with Dewey Wins, though, I think that what this episode does on its own is inferior to what it has the potential to do for the series overall. The episode itself wasn't great, but the implications of it are, which is actually the main reason why I decided to put it second. I think Dewey Wins and Raising the Barn are the 2 weakest episodes of this. It's not technically a bomb, because it wasn't announced as a bomb, but let's call it a bomb anyway. I think that Dewey Wins and Raising the Barn are the 2 weakest episodes of this bomb. And now that I have gotten them out of the way, I can talk about the better episodes. And that's gotten me pretty excited. But as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. I've been involved in plenty of great discussions about Dewey Wins with you guys ever since my review went up yesterday. I'm hoping to see more of that. I really like talking to you guys, even if it does turn into a debate. Either way, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.